Thank you for letting us know, Zoom, that you are now recording us.
Yeah.
Welcome, Erika.
You.
And welcome to all of our fabulous guests. You may recognize this face in front of you, as I have done some other things with Erika before, if you've been to my events and whatnot. And Erika and I are here to chat today about flow. To give you a little bit more insight on that, this is Coaching Misunderstood. You may or may not have seen my short 3 to 5 minute solo videos, and the one about flow where it's just me would have went up 2 days ago. And this is one where now Erika and I are going to just have fun in an unstructured conversation, because it's about coaching, and coaching is very largely unstructured in many cases. And Erika and I are just going to see where this conversation takes us. And Coaching Misunderstood is really to shed light on what coaching is, what coaching isn't. It's very unregulated. There's a lot of us out there doing wildly different things in some cases. And I've found, and I don't know about you, Erika, but I have found so often people put what they think coaching is in a box. Like, oh, well, I guess maybe if I'm going to quit my job, or if I'm really stuck, or this. But I have found that there's a whole myriad of what coaching does. And very often people don't even think of the
Right.
things they can use coaching for.
Right.
And so Erika and I are here to share that coaching is a tool to create a more powerful relationship to flow, to create flow, to get you in flow, however you want to say it. We're going to talk about flow. You ready to flow, sister?
I'm ready to flow.
All right. And you all, just to give you an idea of who this amazing being is, Erika Shepard, MSN, believes in a world where professionals in high pressure environments can acknowledge their hunger for more and finally feel relief within themselves. She spent almost a decade working as a nurse and nurse practitioner in the conventional medical field, primarily in psychiatry and mental health. She now serves as an international speaker, consultant, coach, and healer, where she empowers professionals in high pressure environments to use their innate abilities to find relief within themselves. She lives by the mantra, love can't be known, it needs to be experienced. Oh, I love that. I feel like coaching and so many other things are the same. We need to experience them, right? Like, it's
Yes.
the only way you can feel it.
Yes.
When you spend time with Erika, you'll go on a powerful journey of self-peace. Join her in furthering the good enough movement. And you all, I will have ways that you can connect with Erika in the copy of wherever you're watching this. And when you heard me mention nurse and nurse practitioner, that might have jogged your memory. Erika wrote a really beautiful guest piece for me before. And it's a lot of what she saw as a nurse practitioner. And just I'm not going to give too much, because you might want to go over to my website and read that article. But Erika really starts getting into the power of mindset, which very often in the medical field, we only talk about treating symptom, we only talk about pills or things like that. And so Erika sheds some light on that. So if anyone's like, ooh, I want to know more, hop over to my blog and you can get some more of Erika that way.
Awesome.
So Erika, when I either one reached out and was just like, hey, I want to invite you to a conversation. I'm not going to give you too much to go on except this. And then I send you the email and I'm like, again, not too much to go on except this. Did anything, when we started talking about coaching, how coaching can support someone with flow state, all of that good stuff, did anything just right off the bat come into your mind's eye, into your heart, into your field?
Oh, yeah. So for me, coming from the conventional medical field and having now all this experience as a nurse and nurse practitioner, and now coach, healer, consultant, and I've tell people that all this experience, a lot of it for me was collecting data. And now what I've been able to see over the years, and something that I'm quite passionate about, is so much of people's physical issues and mental and emotional health imbalances come from being out of a state of flow for themselves. And it's something we don't talk about. People will be like, well, what's flow? Right? And
Right. Yep. Yep.
yeah, being flow. Okay, that sounds like hippy dippy, whatever. But what I can tell you is that flow state, that people who end up getting in flow state are the people who end up getting better. Because from a biochemical standpoint, I'm about to nerd out here just slightly, but
they're used to that with me, I'm sure.
Okay, fabulous. So and Jen, you talk about mindset, and so much of that goes into your practice and the neurological system and things like that.
Yeah.
But to go off of what Jen does, and this is where her work and my work kind of, parallel each other a little bit, is that when it comes to our mindsets and how we are perceiving the world around us, when we're in flow, you have to think of it this way. When we're in flow, we feel good, and our mind is perceiving that things are in balance because we're in our flow state. And when we're in our flow state, we feel good, we feel aligned, we feel like we're going in the right direction, we feel like we're doing what we're meant to be doing right in that moment, whatever that is, right? It's different for all of us. But when we're out of a flow state for ourselves, we perceive we are not in balance and out of alignment. And I can tell you, I don't think there's really a lot of studies on this, but what I can tell you is that your mind will perceive that you're out of balance, and that will translate into how your body performs on a biochemical level. And so with that being said, I would love for them to do more research on this stuff. I know there's been studies on flow in like things like mental health, depression, anxiety, things like that. But on the cellular level, going even deeper and just to a more basic anatomy standpoint from that, it does affect how the body performs. And so flow state is just infinitely important for all of us if we want to improve our quality of life and our health on a mind, body, spirit level.
Yeah, so you all really pay attention to the fact that you're getting something that was just shared from a Western and Eastern almost standpoint, right?
Right.
Like Erika's got the background in the science. And this is why I speak to this a lot too, because my background before coaching was neuroscience. And so, we bring that in, right? And our issues come from not being in flow. Flow state equals getting better. We feel good. The mind perceives it as good. The mind is in balance. And I love what you said, because I have a client that I've been working with for 7 years, and she's a scientist.
Yeah.
And she'll now start talking about flow. And I laughed one day and I was like, can you imagine when you hired me 7 years ago that this would ever come out of your mouth?
Right.
And this is a scientist, right? And so you all as Erika and I are talking, you'll start to get more and more, but you can always pause this and hop online and just Google, what is flow state?
Right.
And what you'll probably find when you start Googling that, and I think this is where Erika, I would like to see more studies. Most of the studies come when they are proving that you can access flow state from repetitive tasks, right? Like I am so focused on this factory job of repetition, that all of a sudden I'm in flow state. But there's not as much research in living in more of a flow state.
Right. Right. Because if you go and you're involved in flow state right now, I'm learning how to roller skate. Right. So yes, it's never too late to learn how to roller skate. I did roller blading.
Same. I lived in Michigan, so we did a lot of roller or ice skating.
Yes, Ohio over here. So yeah, we got on some wheels, we got on some skates, but I was like, oh, I want a quad skate. I want to do some of that roller skate dancing. I think it's kind of.
Me too.
Yes, I'm like, I got to get my grace on that way. So for me, like going out for an hour or two a few times a week and getting in that flow state, that's great. And I encourage all of us to find something, like you said, that repetitive action where we just get, healthily lost
Yeah.
in that flow state, whatever that is. However, my invitation is we need to be talking and helping each other and coaching people into flow states as a way of living and getting your day into flow. I know for myself, my mental emotional health is so impacted by whether I'm allowing myself to be in flow during the day or not. If I'm constantly pushing up against resistance, that is so much energy, that is so much time, that is so much fighting myself and where I'm supposed to be going, and like talking from a spiritual sense, like where I'm meant to be going next and like evolving in my evolution. I truly believe flow is what allows us to expand, because if you're not flowing, you're resisting. And if you're coming up against resistance, it's keeping your energy smaller than it really is.
So Erica, and I'm with you on all of this. And so knowing, that people watching this, we're going to have coaches watching this, so they're going to get it. We're going to have people who do this work, so they're going to get it. And then we're going to have people who might be newer to the work, or maybe just like, not ready yet, don't know if I will.
Right.
But for those of us who don't know, like, how the terms feel in the body as much, because I found, all these words we use, once you get coaching, the words get more powerful because you feel the words. So I love what you said, allowing the flow, because I don't think a lot of us realize we're blocking it. It's there, and we're literally like, no.
Yeah.
And you mentioned resistance. So if you were going to kind of paint a picture of what it looks like to block flow, to resist flow, what might people find like in their experience in that moment, in their body, in their mind, and how it's going right then and there?
Yeah. So the anti-flow, if you will, like what does that feel like? I know for myself and for people, a lot of clients and patients I've helped over the years, that looks like frustration. It looks like stress, overwhelm, tightness, and the body feels like pressure. It feels like pressure, and it feels like wanting to be somewhere else. It feels like being not present and like dreaming of being somewhere else. I'm trying to think what else. It can turn into anger at times if it builds up enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
And definitely like that overwhelm. But and then as far as physical sensations in the body, it can be rapid heart rate, more breathing at a faster pace, tingling in the hands and feet. It can feel like sweating a little bit. And what I call the hamster wheel, getting on the hamster wheel, your mind can start really racing. And just going from thought to thought to thought to what ifs to thinking about somewhere else, something else, someone else. It's escapism, really, is trying to get out of the space you're in.
Yeah. So you all who are listening, if you're not, clear on this, Erika just gave a beautiful description on what it's like to not be in flow, to be resisting flow. And these are the times where we are experiencing stress, the overwhelm, the not enoughness, pressure in the body, wanting to be elsewhere, which is not present, right? We can get angry, heart rate increase, breath can increase. So I would say if we look around the world, more of the people we see are probably not in flow than in flow at this point still. We're getting better.
We are.
But more people
that, yes.
are not in flow. I'm gonna grab something because it's making me laugh. I'm gonna show you guys this in a minute. My life purpose, we had to do this exercise in my coaching and leadership training. And so they wanted our purpose to be a timeless thing, right? Not like saving all the children, because they wanted it to be so big that it was like, and then what would you do when all the children that were hungry are saved? Now you have no purpose. So it's like, oh, dang, you're right. We shouldn't attach it to anything specific, right? So when we went through mine was flow. And so I'm always like, okay, I'm going to leave certain amount of space between my car and theirs on the road so we're not too crammed. I'm going to, love them as I go around them, and I try to share my energy and bring road flow, right? But
Right.
this morning, it's after a holiday weekend, one of my go-tos when I really, really relax. That old part of me that still thinks I need to create to be emotionally okay gets a little frisky. So I'm ready for it. But start my moon cycle. So, got my little thoughts in there. And I did not like the way I felt this morning because I was like, I am blocking my flow. And so, y'all, I'm really into oracle cards, not to predict my life.
Right.
I interpret the meaning and, just give my direction. And the card, it's got like this, it's a beautiful starseed card. And it's got like this person like in the ether and her breath. And it literally told me, this is an invitation for you today to stop micromanaging the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about flow.
Yes.
And y'all, so why I shared that is, one, I'm a coach and I still do this work, so I get it, right? But I was responsible for my lack of flow and did what I needed to do to get back in. But it's almost like too, because Erika, when you shared stress, the overwhelm, those states are really the states that the what if, those are the states that do invite us into micromanagement.
Oh, yes, they do.
Right?
We try to control to
Yes.
get instead of, here's what I've come to learn in my own personal experience as a recovering perfectionist and recovering micromanager. Yes. So we get each other. That what I've come to find about flow is that much of the time it does not make sense.
Oh, wonderful. Because you know what? I love that you said it. Let's say it again for them in the back. It doesn't make sense. Because I feel like why these conversations get trippy for people sometimes is we are so trained to think linearly.
Yes.
And these conversations are not linear.
No, and there's this experience.
Yes.
It's like the conversation isn't, but the actual experience of flow, the actual experience of living is not linear.
Yes.
The experience of being live is not linear. And if the more I allow myself for it to not make sense and just allow it to feel good, the more it snowballs and builds up on itself. But man, if it isn't really stupid scary, at times getting in there, because my conditioning, what I was raised in, as many of us have been, says in order for things to be okay, or in order for you to make money, or in order for you to XYZ, in order for you to get what you want, to get what you seek, you must do X, Y, and Z. But flow challenges all that. Flow is does this feel good, calm, peaceful, relaxing, right? And feel like, and much of the time that doesn't make sense. Like in 2017 is when I got a huge, can I tell a little story, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay. So in 2017, I talk about this in my public speaking a lot, but in 2017, at this point, I graduated from Georgetown University, one of the most prestigious universities in the world, with a master's in nurse practitioner, and had any job really at my fingertips that I wanted, which is a great gift to have. I had been married to my college sweetheart for 10 years. I had checked off every box in my to-dos of what I had set out to do. And what I wasn't happy though.
Yep.
I felt tight in my body. I was losing my hair. They were trying to diagnose me with lupus.
Oh, wow.
And everything was coming up negative though. My blood work was perfect. And this goes back to what I was saying before, is that at that time, it's going back to what I was saying before. Let me take a step back because I'm going down 2 rabbit holes right now, but let me go down just one at a time. I was talking about like how flow translates into our physical health or lack thereof. And so going to doctor after doctor and saying, hey, you're great, you're fine. And I'm like, no, I'm not. That led me down this rabbit hole of, well, I'm going to figure out what's really going on, And ultimately, there's a huge long story here, but ultimately what was going on is I was completely out of flow for myself. Like, being out of flow, here's what people need to realize is flow has nothing to do with gratitude or shoulds or blessings or abundance.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I had everything that some people would want,
Right.
but it wasn't mine.
Right. Right.
And I was out of flow for me. So that's what I'm inviting people to realize. And when I actually left my marriage and when I actually left conventional medicine and got into what was more feeling good in my body and me, all those symptoms that were autoimmune related, my hair started growing back, I lost my rashes, the gut issues went away, simply from getting myself in flow. I didn't do anything differently nutritionally. I didn't do anything exercise wise. I didn't do anything supplemental wise. And to me, that is a testament to how important flow is. And if things start to come back in some way, shape, or form, I've had undiagnosable autoimmune stuff on and off my whole life, although I've been really good the last 4 years for the most part. But anytime a hint of something comes up, it's like you are out of flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love everything you just said, from what you shared right before your story to your short story. Um, and just to kind of recap for everyone listening to really make sure you all get the gold. Firstly, before you share your story, you normalize that this is scary. So, y'all, I want to reiterate that because, like, I mean, I've been doing the work probably for longer than 7 years, but I would say I've been really deeply committed for about 7 years. And so y'all, Erika and I are at a place in our work where you might not be watching when you're watching this. So I want to say, first of all, yes, it is still scary, although not as much as it used to be. And I don't know about you, Erika, but this conversation about flow, it's still a very active practice for me.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. And
Like,
so I love that you shared your story, because I would imagine this is true for you, but I don't know. As a coach, I have gotten my fair share of clients who are like, now what? I checked every freaking box that I had, and come to find out, I'm not happy. The money didn't matter, the title didn't matter. I don't even know if I wanted half the stuff I have.
yep.
And so I love that you shared that. So you all, like, what I really want you to get to, because this is powerful. I was noticing this when you said we're doing this interview in 2021, and you graduated and you were married and you went into that field in 2017. That's 18, 19, 20, 21. That's 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize, I mean, you've changed your whole life.
Yes. Everything.
Sometimes I don't think people realize, when you're supported and you're getting clear, you can change stuff that feels like will never change in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
You did this fast. Might not have felt like it.
Oh yeah. But no, it was I tend to be a very intense personality, very like burn it to the ground kind of
Same.
about life. So trust me when I say my pace is not everybody's pace, but my pace is pretty intense. And I did a real round of it, to be honest, last year as well, where there was a relationship that was coming out of flow big time, and I can't control what other people are doing or not doing in their lives. And because this person was not upholding to a vibration that was in love and expansion and all that stuff, I had to cut that. That was the hardest thing I've ever done, was end that relationship, because I did not want it to end, but I couldn't be in flow in that relationship. It was gut wrenching. And even with my business, I went through another recognizing what I'm supposed to be doing next with the work that I've been doing with people, and allowing myself to jump into this next phase of like, no, you're really supposed to go bigger with public speaking and consulting, and the security and the safety of what I've been doing with one-on-one work, which I still do some, but that was the bread and butter of what I was doing for the last 3 years. And now allowing that to burn to the ground, to be in flow with this new thing. And if that ain't like it's terrifying. Like I don't
Oh,
know how evolved anybody is. It's like you are jumping into that thing, that flow, and there's no dial, there's no prediction, there's no anything. It's trust. That's what drives flow, is trust.
yeah. And you and I are actually doing very similar things because, like I did some retreats here and there, taught a little yoga, did some workshops, but the bread and butter of my business since I launched it in 2014, it has been one-on-one coaching.
Yep.
And I know for me, this time last year, it's probably about a year anniversary, give or take. All of a sudden, I was like, what is happening?
What is happening?
I don't want this to be my bulk anymore. For the
Right.
first time, I was like, I'm tired. I don't want everything to be a deep conversation and another deep conversation. I want to rest. I
Yes.
don't want to hold space right now. And
Right.
so, like you, I just had to really say, well, first I was like, oh shit, what is about to happen? But like where you said, let it burn to the ground. So
Right.
y'all, like what Erica and I mean by that is sometimes even when you're scared, and I don't know about you, Erica, but I didn't know in the beginning when that happened. I didn't know what I was meant to step into. I saw nothing except I'm tired and this isn't working anymore.
Oh no, it wasn't clear at first.
Yeah, for me neither. And so, like, I think y'all, what Erica and I had to do so we didn't squash flow was we first of all had to accept it, not make it wrong, and say, I'm freaking scared and it's okay. And I'm going to step back. And as things fall, I'm going to see what starts to grow.
Yes. And no matter what, when you're allowing flow to take over the process, it all feels good.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
can feel amazing and scary at the same time. Like that's what I come to learn, is that it can feel amazing and scary at the same time. And I'm so with you there, Jen. To back off of that, it can happen so quickly. It's like all of a sudden, 1 week out of nowhere, everything that's felt good for the last 4, 5, 10 years, in a week or two, all of a sudden feels horrible.
Yeah, right?
Like quickly, it can happen so quick, and it can be so confusing. That's something else I want to normalize, is it's so confusing when that happens, because you're like, wait, why all of a sudden do I feel like dung about this?
Yep. Yep.
Uh, and so know that that's completely normal too. But my invitation is that no matter what I've come to find with myself and clients is that something might not feel right, and then you don't know what it is, but there is usually always something that feels good in the interim.
Yep.
So for me, when I was leaving conventional medicine, like I had a, for sure, being a nurse practitioner, 6-figure income. And I was like, no, that feels terrible. I don't care how much you pay me. It feels terrible for me. I'm not against conventional medicine, y'all, just so I'm put that aware. It's just, I was meant to be going in a different direction. That's all that means.
Yeah.
So with that being said, though, I knew I was supposed to do more holistic healing, not sure what that looked like, kind of thing. So you know what I did in the interim? I don't know if you know the story, Jen.
What'd you do?
While I was getting, letting it come to me, what I was going to be doing holistic healing wise, I got a part-time job with the airlines.
Did you? I did not know this.
The person with the orange glow sticks bringing in airplanes
No kidding.
and hauling bags. So here I was, a Georgetown master's grad, working with people who at a job where you know, have a high school degree. But let me tell you something, I was the happiest I had ever been up to that point in my life. And I was flying around the world for free, because when you work for an airline, you fly for free.
When was this?
This was 2017 to 2019.
Okay, so it was right after. Yeah. I'm glad that you shared that. Because what I noticed with clients a lot, and I'll share something too to further reiterate for all of you who are listening. Sometimes we can block flow state by saying, but that's not meant for me because I have a better degree than that. I'm going backwards. That's not okay. And you know what? When I quit my job unexpectedly, 1 month after working with my coach, I was like, why didn't I quit years ago? I just needed someone to give me some empowerment and help me make me feel like I was, standing on my 2 feet. And then I quit. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't really have a backup plan here.
Right.
I'm a
Right.
month into my training for coaching. I don't know how much I can really do with that. And then where I met you, Dr. Matt, I had someone reach out, y'all, and he was like, you know what? It can be very stressful to build your business when you have no parachute at all, like you don't have any income coming in. And he was like, why don't you come and run my practice for me for a year? Learn how to run a business, get
Right.
some clients.
Yes.
And like part of me is like office assistant, but that was a very small part of me, because the other part of me was like, what an amazing gift. Now I can build my business and work part-time at an amazing place and watch someone who leads a soul-centered, love-inspired business and learn.
Right. Exactly. Like that's a that's a huge thing, is that our higher selves will always call in flow state. Our ego is what's always going to
Yeah,
squash.
right.
Yes, our ego is what's always going to squash it. And I'm not like, our egos have been there to protect us, and ego death is a process that needs to be gently addressed,
Yeah,
because we can't bite off more than we can chew on as far as that goes. I've learned that for
yeah, me
sure.
too.
But noticing, it's like, if you are constantly like stressed and feeling that pressure and feeling the resistance and all of that, ego is what's keeping you there. Because if you really allowed yourself to get into your higher self, your joy space, your heart space, and what ultimately is your flow space, then you give yourself permission to go there, because it's always there.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how we're both sharing, and there's more people out there who could share. When you start to surrender and really let go, like the flow will
Yep.
always
Always.
rush in.
It will. And you will be provided for in flow.
Yeah.
Again, you don't know how or why or what, but it
Very
happened.
true. And like here's the kicker. And if you are an overachiever, if you're a really hard worker and you pride yourself with that, you might want to listen to this next piece, because what I can say is, I'm grateful that I have a work ethic, because if there's a big launch or something that requires a lot of me, I have the fortitude to do it. But y'all, it has come to my attention that I have actually blocked a lot of my flow in life because of how hard I work. My
Mhm.
hard work has actually said, hey, universe, I don't trust you to provide for me. So I'm going to work myself to death
Oh,
because
I've done
I don't trust you to give me anything. I have blocked flow from working hard.
Yep. And then burn ourselves out in the meantime.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
Yep.
when clients, want hire me to want to work harder, I'm like, well, maybe that's what we work on. But consider that's one way to work. Maybe we could find a different way for you to work other than hard. I don't know. Do you like that word? I don't like that word.
Right. Sounds kind of
I don't
miserable.
want it to be hard.
No, no, we're here to make things easier. I mean, some people do have an issue with motivation, but that's not usually the people that are coming to coaching.
Right. Or, the ones who come to coaching who are motivated and like, we're not doing accountability. We're working on slowing your ass down.
Yes. And optimizing and
Yeah.
trusting all of that. So, yes, 100%. I have burned myself out on multiple occasions due to, my conditioning growing up, needing to provide so many of my own needs to myself, and then still being on that programming going forward. So much of what I work with coaching clients, as I'm sure you do as well, is that so much of our conditioning on how we get what we need as children, how we get that, is what keeps going into adulthood, because we end up getting stuck on autopilot. And it's about working on that consciousness of, why do you think you need to do this, to get that.
Yeah, I'm actually in the middle. I'm not in the middle, I'm further along. But a lot of the things I've been working on now, like my system is really like, okay, I'm ready to release this. And I find like, here's the flow, right? Like when I'm working with my professional support team, and every single one of them is saying something very similar. I'm like, okay, it's happening. But so y'all, what Erika said is really important, because I have never been a hard worker because I've wanted to be, because I chose it, because I liked it. It's because it's how I learned to get unmet emotional needs met through hard work. And so Like the concepts we talk about in these shows, they sound sometimes very simple, but we never want to skate over. These can take work to undo. And if you're trying to do it on your own and you're beating yourself up, like, why can't I do it? If I was still left to my own devices with this stuff, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I tried doing it alone for a long time, like a smart little rat, and it wasn't going very well. Let's just put it that way. Nothing moved for me until I got some help with all of this.
Right. And I don't think it's because we're incapable. I really truly believe we are just meant to heal together.
Yeah, I do too. If
I
anyone's following my new metamorphosis, it's all based on community.
all 100%.
Yep,
And it needs to be witnessed and it needs to be guided.
yep.
We are meant to be. And it's not because there's something wrong with us. It's because, and that's like why coaching and healing is so important, is because we are meant to do it together.
Yeah,
That's
and I don't know how you experience this, Erica, but I found for me, like, part of the reason why I've had people like my friends and stuff laugh at me. They're like, you have like a professional for everything. Not as much now, because I will say, 7 years in and where my system's at, I'm responding to energy stuff in the biggest way. So I'm going more down that road. Season for everything, y'all, right? Just when you get your system down, you probably got to shift it up and get a new one and then get a new one again.
I hear you.
Um, I wasn't gonna go with that, but
You're talking about healing a community.
oh yeah, I have been traditionally such a controller that I find when someone's holding space, and it doesn't have to be coaching. It could even be just be teaching me a yoga class.
Right.
I let go of the wheel more when someone is guiding my space, and I almost think it's like it's just a message my system's always had, where it's like, oh, someone's holding it for you. You can let go now.
Right.
And
It's
so I'll
so
just
important.
rest and let go when someone holds it for me. And then I'm like, oh, what's happening here? I'm like, not white knuckling the wheel right now. I'm like resting. What?
Right. 100%. No, it's like you're doing the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So y'all, if you've ever wondered, if it ever feels disempowering, like, why do I need someone else to help me with this? There could be a lot of reasons. One could be that you just need someone to hold it so you can let go. I think another one is some of the stuff that I had, blocking my flow. I couldn't see it.
Ain't that the truth?
And then, like when it was pointed out, I was like, huh, really?
Right. Like,
No. Some of the stuff, like when I was in group, I could see it going on with other people. And I was like, oh, I see it going on over there.
right.
That's what I'm doing. And I was like, oh, well, that's not a very good look. I don't want to do that anymore. But I
Right.
couldn't see it.
Right. Right. And that's why it's so important to have community, or, have a coach, have a healer, whatever is your community, right? Where we hold each
Yeah.
other accountable in a loving way. But to be very intentional about the community and the people we do welcome in, because sometimes they're going to lead us in the same conditioning.
Yeah, yeah. And so y'all, like, what I will say with what Erica just said, please reach out to either one of us if you are looking for directions to go in. Because what I know about myself is I don't refer anyone that I can't vouch for their work heavily.
Right.
Doing it or knowing someone who does it, I typically will get to be in relationship with someone a little bit before I work with them. Because when I've tried any other way, it hasn't worked out so well.
Right.
um, and so, and I know Erica is the same, but sometimes when you're ready to start getting supported, it can feel actually very overwhelming because you're like, whoa, there's modalities I've never even heard of. Which do I pick? Who do I pick? And it's overwhelming. And it's very, very helpful if you can maybe share with someone what you're seeking and they can say, oh, no, don't go down that path. I think what you're looking for might be down here. Because,
Right.
sometimes I'll get people who are like, oh, I really want coaching for this. And I'm like, maybe, but I actually think this would be better for you.
Right.
So I refer people out when I don't think what I have for them is it.
Right.
Or I've tried so many things. I'm like, maybe you should try some therapy. Maybe you should try some energy work. Maybe you should try some, I don't know, but like,
Something.
yeah, yeah. And so that said, reach out to one of us. Like Erica knows a lot of professionals. I know a lot of professionals.
Yep.
We're not the kind where it's like, if you reach out, we're going to like try to sell you on something, hustle you. We don't roll like that.
Nope.
We
No,
just
ma'am.
make sure you have what you need.
Exactly. If it's not what you need, we'll find something that does.
Exactly. So, Erica, I want to be mindful that you and I are honoring our time, because I find that when I don't honor my time, that is another thing that can get me out of flow. Do you
I
ever? Yeah. So, y'all, we're just going to throw that in. But as we start kind of winding down, we, as we're winding down, we've talked about really, we gave a very clear model of how it feels to not be in flow. Have we given a clear model of what it feels like when you're in flow?
For myself, I recently got kicked into major flow state as far as what's happening with my business and all of that. And for myself, it is just like, I mean, it's the opposite essentially of everything else we said, but I will, verbalize it is I feel peaceful. I feel very connected to my joy.
Mm,
I'm not worrying.
mm,
Like I have just spent a tremendous amount of money on investing this thing into my business that I have no qualms about it because I know in my flow state, this is leading to the bigger expansion that's going to pay itself back 100-fold at some point. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't mind. I don't care. Like, and not that I don't care, but there's like this ease.
yeah.
I feel more present. I'm laughing a lot. I'm feel light. I feel relief when I'm in flow. I just feel relief. And it's funny, you were saying, Jen, your word of your purpose is flow, and mine is, for my purpose, is relief.
Oh, I love that.
I help people find relief. So for myself, I feel relief
Yeah.
when I'm in that flow state. And it's just like, I don't even care what the outcome looks like because I know I'm on the path of that outcome where I still feel like this.
Yeah. 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 I love that. And y'all, what I would also say is when you are really in flow state, you're not attached to the outcome. There's a lot of possibilities, and that if the scenario switches, it's only because it's better for you. And to piggyback on what you said, I would say when we're in flow state, and I know everyone watching, you might not live in this state, it might be fleeting for you, but I know you've experienced this. It's when you're like, I'm meeting all the right people at the right time.
Oh,
Things just are happening so easy. I just said I wanted this and it showed up. And it literally feels like, and again, y'all, what we're talking about living in flow is those brief moments of magic. It is doing the work so that you get to stay in those moments for longer and longer and longer. And then when you get out, you know how to get back there faster and faster and
yeah.
faster.
Yes.
And Erica, when you were talking about, like not worrying, so y'all like, I think a few more things like I feel called to share as we're wrapping up is I know it can be challenging to not worry, especially if you're really programmed to worry. And I do a lot of work on this. But one thing I can tell you is, when I woke up a little bit today and I was just like, oh, I'm not feeling super flowy. My parts like have things they want to say because of my holiday weekend, because I'm starting my cycle. And what I will actually do is, y'all, I will say out loud, all right, this is predictable. And you know what? You're not going to take anything that's in here seriously today. And if you actually think there's anything real about it, write it down and check back in maybe tomorrow or another day. And normally when I do, I'm like, oh, I don't resonate with that anymore. I'm really glad I didn't let my ego get attached to that and go to town.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So just maybe putting down the stuff that will pull you out of flow.
Right. And sometimes it's I always say one finger at a time.
Yeah.
Don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
Like for today, I know that this is getting in the way of my flow. I'm going to let go of this one thing.
Oh yeah, y'all. I do this all the time. I'm a big like plan tomorrow today. I will plan tomorrow before I go to bed and kind of visualize it. And the first thing I'll do when I get started is I'll reassess and say, okay, your biorhythm could be different right now from when you went to bed. you don't know if where you are is reflective. So I'll reevaluate and say, how true does this feel for me now?
Right. Exactly.
This is great, Erika. I feel like we have given people descriptions so they can really see it and feel it. We've given examples from our own lives. Before we leave these amazing people with what we shared, if we do a quick check-in, like, are there any last minute things where your guides are like, oh, I must share this, oh, I must say that, like any last minute things that are moving through you?
I just want to remind everyone that flow is possible for everyone. Like, even if you are the most type A, neurotic, I can't seem to let go of anything kind of person, you have flow within you. It's
I
just,
love that.
it's also not an achievement.
I
Flow
love that.
not an achievement. You're not performing poorly because you're not in flow.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah,
what it's about. Flow is not about doing it. It's about allowing ourselves to be in it. And
yeah,
it's undoing the doing
yeah, right.
that is allowing it to get there. So just be kind, patient, and gentle with yourself if you are seeing that flow is a missing piece from your life that you want to add.
Yeah, I love that. And you all, if any of your pipe parts are resisting what Erica said, and you're like, no, it's certainly not for me. I share this pretty frequently, but for those of you watching who might not have heard, there was a point in time where I did have a diagnosis of ADHD and OCD that fed in a loop. And if anyone wants to know what that feels like in your brain, it feels effing crazy. And it was actually a nurse practitioner who got me on some homeopathic adrenal stuff that started creating space. But you all, I'm a firm believer that if I can do the stuff I preach about, because trust me, am probably by wiring one of the most controlling little beings ever. Like, for me to say flow state's possible, y'all can do it. I've had a lot of help. I will not skip over that. I've had a lot of help with it.
Right. And that's just to show you how powerful you are. Yeah. And you all have that within you.
Yeah, right. I tell everyone, I'm like, your survival crap, your autopilot, if you're powerful and you can't break that, that's only a testament to your actual power. So let's put it somewhere else.
Right, exactly. That just shows how
Move
powerful
away from there and move it over here.
Right, exactly. It's about undoing what's preventing you from doing that, not about how powerful you are.
Oh, Erika, thank you for being a yes to this and so generously sharing some of your time so that we could have this conversation and put it out into the world.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I always appreciate you every time you're reaching out and inviting me, and I'm honored to be part of this today. So thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. And you all, as I mentioned, reach out to me, to Erika, if you have a question, a comment, and if you know anyone who is considering being a coach, hiring a coach, feel free to share any of these because it's often misrepresented. And these are the conversations that I want people to know about for coaching. This is where it's at. All the other stuff people want to create, the job, the thing, it comes through this.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will see you all very soon. Thank you again for tuning into this weekly series, and we will be back next week.
Yeah.